The Ethics Committee of Brazil's lower house seeks a reduced sentence for suspended lower house president Eduardo Cunha. And the Agrarian strike in Colombia enters its 10th day. For teleSur's, I'm Reagan Vignes in Caracas, and this is From the South. Thank you for being here with us. We begin in Brazil, where the Ethics Committee of the lower house has suspended the session to determine a decreased sentence against former lower house president Eduardo Cunha. Cunha, a main mover of the parliamentary coup against Dilma Rousseff, is accused of taking $5 million in bribes to secure contracts with the state-run oil company Petrobras. He's also been accused of hiding the same money in Swiss banks. He was also suspended by the Supreme Court over allegations that he was using his position to obstruct an investigation into possible improprieties. Today's ruling has been postponed several times. In Argentina, journalists marched in Buenos Aires to protest the massive layoffs by President Macri's government. Thousands of journalists, along with dozens of media workers' unions, have taken to the streets of Buenos Aires to demand an end to the endless dismissals. They're also calling for negotiations on salary increases. More than 2,500 media employees have lost their jobs in the 6 months since Macri took office, and several outlets have shut down. Now, marches in Mexico, where thousands of teachers have arrived in the capital to protest the education reform, have been met with roadblocks. Waving banners for free public education and the right to protest, the teachers denounced the increasing privatization and homogenization of education due to the reforms. They also denounced the government's refusal to dialogue and said that the excessive police presence violates their constitutional right to protest. With 99.5% of official ballots counted, Pedro Pablo Kuczynski could be considered the virtual next president-elect of Peru. Also, the final result is yet to come. 3 days after the runoff election, the ex-Wall Street banker has got 50.13% of the vote, which means a lead of 42,000 votes. An electoral court is considering each challenged ballot, which represents 1% one by one. Fujimori's campaign still hopes that the votes coming from remote rural areas will shift the final result. Kuczynski said he will not declare victory until the official verdict is in. The chief of staff of Chilean President Michelle Bachelet, Jorge Burgos, has resigned, alleging personal reasons. He and Bachelet had a series of disagreements over how to handle anti-government backlash among indigenous Chileans who demand the return of their ancestral lands and greater autonomy in the southern region of La Araucanía. Burgos will be replaced by Mario Fernandez Baeza, current ambassador to Uruguay and also a member of the Christian Democratic Party. Now we go to Colombia, where a nationwide strike across the countryside continues amidst serious denouncing of excessive violence used by security forces to restrain social protests. Our correspondent Natalia Margarita has more.
In Colombia's capital, Bogotá, a number of different social sectors continue demonstrating in support and solidarity with the indigenous, peasant and Afro-descendant communities mobilizing across the rural areas and roads of the country amidst an agrarian strike. The strike has entered its 10th day amidst a strong repression from security forces.
Over 120,000 people are currently mobilizing in both the countryside and the cities. And that is important to make clear that the strike is not just in the rural areas, but it is a nationwide strike aimed to demand a dignified living condition in all territories. In terms of mobilization, the balance is positive. People continue in good spirits under the conviction that the current model must be confronted.
Leaders of the strike have called for international protection from the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights after 171 demonstrators have been arbitrarily detained, at least 200 injured and 3 more killed over the course of the rural protests. Several sectors have criticized that while the government speaks about peace, on the other hand it declares war to the social movements.
The government committed to give human rights guarantees for the protesters, but just the day after, continued repressing and multiplying the use of force against the community. This generates lots of doubts regarding the commitment that the government really has towards constructing peace. Peace is not just the negotiations in Havana. It also has to do with these sort of processes in which people demand what is needed to live. That is peace construction.
During a similar rural strike in 2013, dozens of demonstrators were also killed, injured, and detained. Since then, the government has been committing to a series of measures and economic incentives to tackle poverty in the countryside and develop the agrarian sector. However, rural organizations denounced that 3 years later, those commitments have not been fulfilled, triggering the current strike.
Development in Colombia's countryside has not been articulated to the realities of our peasants. This has prevented the peasant communities, which are so important for the development and sustainability of the Colombian society, from getting the benefits and conditions they need to achieve good results.
While renewed demonstrations in Bogotá have already been announced, over 150,000 truck drivers have also joined the strike, protesting unfulfilled commitments from the government as well as the increase on gas and tax road prices. Natalia Margarita, Telesur, Bogotá.
Austria's anti-immigration Freedom Party has filed a legal challenge to the results of the elections held 2 weeks ago. Its candidate lost by the narrowest of margins to ecologist Alexander van der Bellen. Doctors, nurses and paramedics have staged a 24-hour walkout in Athens to protest staff shortages and the general deterioration of the health sector due to cutbacks in funding. The workers blamed the government's policies during the last 6 years of financial crisis imposed to please international lenders, keeping Greece afloat with loans. Union representatives say the austerity measures put patients' lives at risk on a daily basis. And French rail workers have also gone on strike against the government's labour reform and the EU rail liberalisation. The unions have threatened to persist with the movement throughout the Euro 2016 soccer tournament due to begin on Friday. Syria's Observatory for Human Rights says that about 15 civilians have been killed as a result of government airstrikes on rebel-held neighborhoods. This figure includes children. Rescue workers say the death toll is higher. The Al Bayan hospital has also been damaged in the attacks. Staff have been evacuated. UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Iraq, Lisa Grand, says that it's senseless to invest so much money in militarily defeating Daesh and ISIL and not investing in the people who are the victims of ISIL. She said this during a walk-through at a camp for the displaced in Baghdad. She added that the number of people thought to be trapped in Fallujah and Islamic State's stronghold near Baghdad is close to 90,000 people, which is almost twice the number previously estimated. And for a bit of sport, lawn tennis athlete Maria Sharapova says she will appeal the 2-year ban imposed on her by the International Tennis Federation, the ITF. The ban is for her medicinal use of the drug meldonium, which experts say could have a positive effect on stamina and endurance. In an emotional interview, Sharapova admitted to using doctor-prescribed medicine, which happened to contain meldonium for the past 10 years. Meldonium was only just banned as at the start of 2016. She said she has not intentionally taken any performance-enhancing substances. For more on these and other stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English, or you can visit us on Instagram, Facebook, or on Twitter. For Telesun English, my name is Reagan. Have a good evening. Bye.